poems I write music to, but not the ones I'm going to do tonight. And I've got 2 poems tonight, and my first one is of a more, I guess, serious nature. It's just been, as we all know, there's so much happening, and not only to our southern friends across the border, but to ourselves as well. So it's a bit serious, this one. And it's a metaphorical piece as well. It seems to wander, but of course with metaphors, read between the lines. All the lights are on. This morning, I woke up and every light in my house was on. Not because of a storm and not because of a mistake, because my daughter learned something. Quietly, in socks, in the middle of the night, she figured out that if you touch the wall, the dark listens. I lay there watching her, standing in the hallway, silently clapping her hands when the light came on. Her hands are so small, and they barely made a noise. She clapped once, then brought them to her heart, smiling. It was almost as if she turned on the sun. You can't get mad at that, even in the middle of the night. You just lie there smiling, thinking, well, I guess the next lesson is how to turn them off. Now, as most of you know, my daughter is 33. She has Down syndrome, autism, early onset Alzheimer's, and a medical history long enough to make doctors go quiet. When she was 10, she went to bed one child and woke up not there, but another child overnight, from high functioning to a wheelchair, to silence, to a world that no longer worked the way it used to. People call it behavior. They always do. They don't see what happens when there's seizures. They don't see the relearning. They don't see the years between the wheelchair and the walking. They see a label. This is the way it should be, and the story is simple. But nothing simple teaches you how to change your life and dress yourself again and laugh when your head comes out through a sleeve. Nothing simple figures out light switches in the dark. As long as there's a Diet Coke or French fries in our world, we're fine. And some days that will help her know me. Some days she doesn't, some days she talks. Some days the world is very quiet. Now, people, even me, we don't like that kind of uncertainty. We want stability. We want the systems that have been there always. Health care that just works. Doors that open. Lights that come on when you need them. We like believing that these things are permanent and will not be taken away until they aren't. Until something you paid into your entire life quietly disappears. Until the switch is there, the wall is there, but the room stays dark. You're told to wait, 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 like the change, change, change. Until 8 hours is too long, 4 days is too long, and the light never comes back on because a life quietly, slowly slips away. My grandmother used to say, "You're nothing without your health," and I didn't understand until I had to learn how to measure success differently. Today, success was this: all the lights were on. The house was glowing. Too bright, a little inconvenient, but alive. And tomorrow, with kindness, we'll work on the switches again, together. So it's been a grand week, and here's my little bit of my week. This is called cold. People have asked me, so how was your week? And I say, cold, just cold. And they nod ever so wisely and say, oh yeah, minus 27. Look at the bright side, no mosquitoes. And that's very comforting when your furnace is actively auditioning for a horror movie. Now, it started innocently enough. Morning coffee, slight chill. I thought, cozy sweater, weather coming, and indoors, but I'm in a rush. I'll turn the heat up later. Ha, because the laugh was on the house. So we left for the day and came home, and the furnace made a noise that no appliance should ever make. A screech, a howl, a mechanical cry for help. Okay, I said calmly to myself, tomorrow I'll call someone. Now, it should also be said that we don't do low heat in our house because we live as people who like bare feet as a lifestyle choice year-round. Now that night, 'twas the night before panic, when all through the house there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed thinking, Santa already? No sleigh, no reindeer, just the furnace screaming into the void. I crawled back into bed, freezing, thinking maybe I'm getting sick. Spoiler alert! I was getting colder. Morning came. No heat, no temperature reading because optimism is not a thermostat. OMG certainly took on new meaning. Panic set in. Who do I call? Who can help me? I called ATCO, explained the situation. They said, we'll mark it urgent. And 2 seconds later, on my door, there they were, angels in work boots. And after a bit, I get another list. Another list? My furnace isn't working. So frantic, I called the first name on the list. Seconds later, part in hand like furnace paramedics. Less than an hour later, the techie paramedic comes upstairs and says, you've got heat. And I said, I don't believe you. There it was as we went downstairs, running, glorious warmth. And here's the kicker that I discovered later. On my thermometer in the hall is the name of the furnace company. And I've only lived there a year. Well, Santa did come to our house after all. He just wore steel-toed boots, fixed the furnace, and left me the bill. And honestly, it was worth every penny. Well, except for next time, Santa, could you pay the bill too? Thank you.
Wow, what an act to follow. Oh my goodness. Okay. First off, I just want to look at the camera and say, hi, Oliver and Ava at home. Those are my 2 beautiful kids and my wonderful wife, Kaylee. I know we're going to be watching this later, so thank you all so much for, well, you have no choice to listen to me, so. But anyways, I'm going to read 2 poems as well. Hopefully that's okay. One from a book that I self-published and whatnot, so yeah. Is called A Treacherous Tongue. The words hold tight like a snake wrapping around my tongue. This piece of thought I craved formed not so young. It would just twist as I sink deeper into a mute transgression. Don't think I've learned my lesson, as power from within only grows to deepen the depression I hold back, so you don't have to save face. A broken lace wrapped around my soul, tearing me a hole, keeping me from feeling full. Though I look to sew that tear together, but time, like a feather, loosely floats atop wished dreams, flying farther into depressed seams, leaving me only to scar once again. And a weight, my friend, will only serve to feed that snake's hold on a tearing feeling of whole that I do desperately desire, and only hopes a fire that burns me brighter. So I darken that light and hope that it'll soften the fight that I so desperately keep to my self-effacing goals. No, I can't speak, but my mind wanders. The living bondage from my words grows stronger as I turn facts away. I lay sleeplessly, dreading for future fear, though it appears stronger around my deceitful tongue, holding dear restlessly to my hope so young. Yet you lie there in a daze, never knowing the words I crave to free my treacherous tongue. Yes, the one that I race to keep suffocated under a tactful embrace. This one, I've been keeping a poetry journal, and I kind of just let my, words vomit onto the page, so. This one's called Soot-Stained Memory. You shade to black in my memory. How could you stain the only thing I own? I caught you like a soot stain, suddenly I'm not my home. You linger like a sorry night. I crossed you out and you blotted. You cursed this house I built, cursed everything I wanted. You also stained me like pottery. I'll break when it's all done. In the end, I just hope it looks pretty. That's it.
So here's a couple of philosophical poems. This one's called The Justification of Hopelessness. The horror of hopelessness takes it all away, throws you in the gutter with the bills to pay, lost inside the motion, hoping it resumes. Anything is better than that nothing's true. So you go on hoping, though you know the truth. All of it is ending, all of it is through. Left out in a snowstorm, nothing now but freeze, hoping for a morning, a way to defeat. Are you still so certain? Does your will divide? Put you in the plastic where you must reside. I don't want to follow all these dumb remarks, banking on the shadows that you will depart. In a corner breaking as your soul's removed, shatters into pieces you are looking through. Felt the others watching, nowhere left to hide. Would I be delivered and be safe inside? All they have's temporal, think the truth is here. Just a game of stretching, just a game of fear, waiting for the nothing that will take you in. Try to avoid murder, murdering the wind. So they go on gusting, raging at the day. Does it really matter? That is what they say. But I know there's something waiting for us there. If you want to face it, if you want to care. Thank you. This one's called The Drudgery of the Living Things. Living in the mystery, where it all resides. It is where I make my home, and that I do decide. People trying to smoke me out, drive me from my home, but I'm gonna stick around, gonna get it done. If you haven't seen the things that you haven't seen, you are gonna be the one who is wrestling. I'm not you, not anymore. I have woken up. I have split off from the herd. They poured it in my cup. Feeling free and feeling fine, and I don't want to move. Got a handle on these things. I know just what I do. Tell me off and see the way that you want to be seen. I don't have it anymore, the person I have been. Now I'm frozen in the fire. I wield a battle axe. I swing it at my enemies. I hear it make a crash. All these things left to be seen. I will not turn away. Take a rocket to the moon, and then you plant a flag. All the rivers flowing off, they're always on the move. Find the one that is the best, a message that you prove. Grieving for another life that didn't come to be. But that's just the way it goes. You're swimming in the sea. Break the bread and break it off, and let the handle turn. Lop you off from all the rest. There is a lot to learn. Now I'm feeling like I do. I know the way to go. Split it with a winter axe and push the dominoes. Thank you.
I wanted to explain, Teri just told me to explain the big poster behind us here. Well, the first year that after we completed 1 year of owl poetry, and that was back when the owl was down the street a little bit, we decided to have quite a celebration. The place was absolutely filled. People were sitting on the floor. I'm glad there were no, regulators there or anything, because I'm sure we were breaking fire codes. But there were a lot of people there, and what I had done was I had painted this tree without any leaves on it, and I had 200 leaves that I had made out of green paper, well, paper painted green. And I put them out on all of the tables, along with markers, and I invited everyone there to talk about either what poetry meant to them or what owl poetry meant to them. And we got so many really heartfelt responses. I mean, I was in tears when I was reading all of them. And then I glued them all on. Well, at the end of our 5th year of doing owl poetry, including all through COVID, when we were online doing it, I did it again. I invited people to write more of what they wanted. And again, we had just beautiful things up there. So I invite every one of you to, either after owl poetry tonight or during the break time, to come up and to read just a few of those comments on there. They're very inspiring. And then the last thing to explain about the poster is that it is the bumblebee that is on it is in memory of one of our regulars who had come. He was an unusual, beautiful man, and he would come wearing a bumblebee costume most of the time, and then reading his poetry in a bumblebee costume. It was just lovely. So he's now our patron saint, as he's gone to the other side for now. Okay, I'm doing popping too many P's here. Okay. The first two poems that I have tonight are ones that I just wrote last month in response to the uncertain world we live in. The first one was in response to a prompt where we were invited to look around us and to find something with a face on it, and then to write to the face, to the embodied person that was there. This is a tiny stone-carved owl. So that's the inspiration. My poem is Hope Absurd? I stare into the eyes of the small stone owl. I'm searching for what? I want encouragement, hope, approval, but the eyes are eerily expressionless. Is hope absurd? I look around me, the world stares back, expressionless. No resolution, no salvation, no camaraderie, no hope. But I remember that the small stone owl is a gift from a friend who, when she saw this wise old owl, thought of me. Into her crazy, upside-down world, I had brought some hope. Maybe I even sparked her own inner wisdom. We don't always know what we bring to others. We look for what we think we don't have, yet sometimes we're already gifted with what we are searching for in another. Thank you. I also wrote a letter in the name of hope, as if hope is writing a letter to me. She said, "Dear Kat, thank you for searching for me. I feel so forgotten, so forlorn. So many people want me to be there with them, but when I don't look like what they wanted, they curse me. It makes me want to hide away. Is there no place for me, for hope in this world? I've always been small. I look more like a spark than a rescue ship. But I become more visible when more people nurture that spark, and I live brightly between and among good-hearted people. I know that you and so many like you wonder if my spark is just a trick of the light. Even if I'm really there, you wonder how I can possibly become bright enough to enable anyone to see. But my spark is real, Kat. And even if I'm not as bright as you would hope, please keep me alive. Build my tiny fire within you until there is the fuel available for me to shine, shine, shine. Until many can nurture me, thank you for keeping a space for me. Love, Hope." And finally, an older poem that I decided to read tonight because I don't know if you know this, but Teri has a Substack where weekly she posts poems that Poetic Encouragement is the name of her Substack. So she wrote one on a willow tree that was a friend of hers growing up, and I responded with my own poem on a willow tree. I decided to share it tonight. Weeping Willow. When I lived in the country, I had a weeping willow tree in the backyard. It was a mother tree, nurturing me and everyone else who came to that sanctuary called Sage Woods. Under that willow, I had a swing that could hold 3 of us, or embrace the one of me all sprawled out. Back and forth I cradle in the woods. I went through a lot when I lived there, and that willow tree witnessed much weeping, cradling a broken heart and a broken dream. When the breezes came, the branches danced and the leaves sang. When the storms came, the branches writhed and the leaves snapped, whips striking the ground, the trunk, and the air. But deeply, deeply rooted, with supple, tender branches, that willow tree never broke. It sang, it wept, it writhed, but that willow tree never broke. It sang, it wept, it writhed, but that willow tree never broke. I learned to be me from that tree. Thank you.
This first poem is called Circles. Poetry is always written within constraints: the mind, the experience, the vocabulary, but also how much of a whole you can encapsulate in a fragment. What language can convey the subtleties sublime? If eternal experience can match the infinite variety of perception, coloring words within the lines matters not. When lines lack definition, when lines fracture, when lines do not exist, when lines repeat, unfold, mislead, malform, repeat, convey, exist, constrain, set free, set loose, set on fire the formless, the we, the lines where our bodies overlap, where souls clasp hands with each other's neurons, while spirit, while mind, while time creates the complex canvas of constraints and forms, an ocean from which we only need dip a cup and sip upon the lines. This next one is Drift. My leg is a dead piece of wood, swollen by the tides, found in the forest, burning with fire, propping up my frame, carved into the shape of clumsy flesh and nail, twisted into a form that neither carries nor breaks. I don't usually give much context, but this one comes with context. It is a poem written for an artwork being put on by a company called Strudel Brand. The art show is called Resurfaced. You've heard of it. And so this poem accompanies a picture of what is the largest building in Lethbridge, a grain tower, the ATL building. It is huge, it is monolithic. And here's a poem about it. Map Palimpsest Productions. Over prairie seeds, Onan, the floor atop Jacob's elevator, in the sky cupola, where we weigh sordid tales upon the scales against a pip of flax, blown away. Dust bowl to dust, brown rust to bust. Are you circumspect? Do you genuflect and circumvent genuine introspection? Blown away. We divide Solomon's wild oats, bound before Moloch. We bake our pains into bread to feed our need for stories. Blown away. Obscured by windows, sins, and sheaves, this house of papyrus truths aflame. Madonna grieves thieves like a virgin, adversarial poetry to jailbreak God. Societal mimetic collapse, blown away. Tales far more numerous than the sands in the sky. You sow the seeds that choke the lilies in the field, blown away. For the King of Kings on office remain, words faded too, but look and despair. And these words, in the end, too, will be blown away. And finally, one that was written very off the cuff and raw, just on the, I think it was the windiest morning in Lethbridge in January. This is For the Geese and Ducks of Henderson Lake. For the geese and ducks of Henderson Lake, maybe it won't be so cold. If someone remembers, take a picture, write a poem. We are all dead and dying. Some just do it a little quicker in the moment. If someone sits beside your body, no reflection on memento mori, just you, and a hope you were a silly goose while you could. Thank you.
All right, this one, yep, better? There we go. Hopefully I'm not frying the mic. Just a heads up on this one, it has drowning imagery and a bunch of ocean-related stuff, so if you are a thalassophobe, meaning you're afraid of the ocean, maybe sit this one out or just grab a breath of fresh air. All right. It's called Sea of Information. Lately, I've been feeling like I'm drowning. I'm a pretty good swimmer. Front and back crawl, breast and backstroke, sculling. I can tread water adequately. But right now, the ice is closing over my head. I can't get my breath. So much is happening and keeps happening. One of my friends was going to move to Minneapolis, so you can guess how that's going. I've never been so tired in my life, and it's all I can do to get my head up long enough to breathe. Water keeps rushing past my lips, down my nose. But I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm not dead yet. And hey, unlike this time 10 years ago, I want to live. I'm not giving up, but I'm doing a dead man's float. Clinging to a friend's coffin, a lonely orphan like Ishmael, I'm not even in much danger, at least theoretically. The storm presses at our borders, and too many people have joined the swarming sharks. The sharks have a point, they say. We're just looking out for the best interests of our school, they say. This is freedom. But I watch as the waters rise and some ice melts and other ice advances, and it's just so much. Screams and yells just come out as bubbles. Sometimes I just want to sink down to the pelagic abyss, where the terrible things with transparent skin and enormous teeth live. The anglerfish and the vampire squid, down where the uncompressible pressure presses down, turning tubes full of rich men into metal ravioli stuffed with foie gras d'homme, the rarest meat. They say at times like this that it's sink or swim, but my wife says, why choose between two options? Maybe the only way to survive is to grow gills. But I also know that together, fish elude and confuse sharks by flocking in schools. Did you know they sing? Those slowly bleaching coral reefs are alive with fish song. And did you know they grow corals in plantations now, fighting the bleaching of waters grown acidic with absorbing carbon dioxide by regrowing corals one by one? I don't think paper straws are going to fix this one, babes. But every coral reef we keep alive a little longer, every vulnerable species brought back from the edge of extinction is worth it. And I keep waiting for the surface tension to break. But the way we get through this together, is by resting, is by looking at the ecosystem piece by piece. And sometimes it's by tearing a shark's throat out. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is the first. Love, a light story. A twinkle, a sparkle, a fleeting dash. What light is love? Is love a light switch? In two simple positions, yes or no. Such that there is nothing until there is everything. Do you love me? yes or no. I can flip the switch as often I like, but if the power is cut, in the dark I stay. Is love a sunrise with its soft glow announcing a promise of warmth, light, hope to come, slow and steady but inevitable, both up and down? People prefer not to speak of the setting of love. Is love the twinkle of the stars dancing, enticing an albatross far, a billion shining projectors, or mayhaps just one star, the star intended for you or me? Is love a campfire to be nurtured and tended, made to gather many around for safety, nourishment, community, family, warmth for all, exposure for all, privacy for none? Is love a candle, delicate and personal, intimate, held in one hand, shielded by the other from external winds and whooshes that would undo it without ever knowing what they'd done or undone? Precarious, fragile. Or is love a lantern, a beacon, something that offers hope, home, and hearth, though only by its flicker and cast? The orange glow, a false god, yet like all gods, enough to carry a man across the sea and into many a frigid night. The great absurdity and equalizer is that the lantern of love blinds the man to the real dangers beyond its light. He holds it aloft and attempts to peer past it. Little does he know he would see further, much further, and more clearly if he would only extinguish the flame. In fact, he illuminates his own visage, betraying himself to any hidden foe that may be peering at him from the darkness beyond. Yet, by glowing and warming the man's face, he sets his mettle to the task, his shoulder to the wheel, with a drive he could not, would not possess were it not for the glass-walled cage containing hope and light. Love, a light story. Thank you. And another very brief one. I'm as good as ever and better than I ever have been. I'm as good as ever and better, though my heart is quite unseen. I'm as good as ever and better, not better than I was before. I'm as good as ever and better. Thank goodness no one is keeping score.
Hello, I can't see you, which is great because I'm very anxious, and this is quite relaxing, actually. This is a poem about meat, specifically us. It's a positive thing. It's called Paranoia Meat. A tube of flesh. You are a tube of flesh. The first thing of you that formed was a hole. One cell, 2, 4, too many. A ring of them, a tunnel, hollow with avarice, and borrowed limbs decorating you. You are chemical, organic compounds strung together in delicate lines, held by friction, attraction, and gravity. Cradled in the boundary, a threshold between what is and is not. You are miracle, mutable, electric, thoughts and hormones, impulses, instincts, intangible, idea and thing. You're both the vibrating tendons and the manner in which you choose to speak. You are your skin, your face, your hands, iris and tongue, lips, teeth, everything visible and the tissue tucked beneath, your voice, the impressions you leave. But your skin is not you. The bits of dandruff, the loose hairs, the stains on your bed sheets, protein, oil, or body heat, mucus and salt water and wear and tear. That's not you. You aren't your remains. Are you? You're a vessel that claims what's inside of itself. The swirl of gas in your lungs till you exhale, and it's not. You're the awareness you need to breathe. Inhale, it is you. Exhale, it's not. Steam on your stolen breath. It is you because you're both the liquid keeping your sticky flesh wet and its flow throughout the yield of you. Minerals to be made into cell walls and the cage of you. You're the water you sip, bleed, sweat, piss, and weep, all carrying traces of you. How much of it is really you? The humor in your eye is plump with fluid that has entered and exited countless things, purged from beings just as real as you. It was them. Now it's not them. It's only you. Exception or rule. You're hungry. You're an endless dying biomechanical furnace, an engine of survival, adaptation, destruction, annihilation, all churned into vital sign victory. A kingdom of parasites who only feed off of things alive, alive like you, with or without a pulse, with or without a mind. A mind is what permits this. A mind is what allows you to comprehend what is said, what is read, what is and is not you. You're more than an unthinking consumption. You're beyond that, more than divides between kindred and prey. Though this changes if you're starved enough, when you wither and atrophy, when you burn for energy, when the basest bits of biology kick back in, self matters less. Identity's integrity no longer stands above cell or structure, all because autophagy dictates you'll eat that too. You're still hungry, though. You always have been. Something else must lose part of its being to become your own. You must take from your parents, you must take from the world, and this is not asking for petty guilt because you shed chunks of self, flesh and foundation until you die, and your remaining entirety will be taken, given to decay. You're a convincing replica, a triptych facsimile of what you once had, would, will be. Everything for what you have the capacity. Space only remaining for your last truth, a lonely truth, a real you. You're the only real you. There's a border between past and future, but no present with which to mark it. Your spark of transmission through clear body, carefully manufactured by skin and evolution to protect phantasms of this physically perceptible territory, this massive nerve you inhabit that you are, the you that interprets this and the self that takes time. There's a built-in delay. You are not the same as when you read this, when you remember this, when you started this sentence, as when, or if you'll remember this again, or before you even knew what this was. Thoughts in your brain, sustained by millions of capillaries that pulse with that twitching coiled muscle nerve web of wanting strands, dilate and contract, forcing particles of vital things from blood to contamination, all and everything that makes you, you. Vital things you took from the outside and will ever take and will always return. There was only one way or another, hazy lines, blurring the self-wrought boundary. You are function, loose purpose, expand, contract, your motion, from heartbeat and neuron down through your alveoli, exchanging elements, stacked, singular, dissolving, and stable through a viscera knot. You will do nothing but change. You have always been changing. It won't ever stop. When you're dead, you'll never be gone, only pushed every last limit of alteration you're capable of. You'll always be part of something that finds itself whole, just like you do now. Don't you, deep in your being form body, don't you recognize your sovereign anatomy?
All right, so I've got 3 short ones I'm going to read. This one's going to be longer eventually, but this is the start. If types could live in stereo, seen with all the vicissitudes of compound eyes and all of the sound and fury of 1,000 moments heard from all sides, would we still call them stereotypes? With all the sights and sounds that then abound, unseen and unheard, silenced with a single word, that itself remains unsaid, unwritten, is there anyone left to even fail to listen? And that's it for now. And this one I'm calling The Light of 1,000 Scars. Twinkle, twinkle, little stars, how I wonder what you mar. Separate the depths within to notify the next of kin. I bear my heart, it's yours to take. No one wants it anyway. I betray my soul, it's my mistake. To misidentify what's real or fake. Some people want to leave a mark, but I'm just trying not to leave a stain, whatever remains. And this one I actually wrote 3 years ago, and I just changed the title now because I can finally read this. And I'm calling it Reunion. When there's no light to guide you, and the stars have gone cold, when all of life has extinguished, and you feel barren and old, when nothing is left but the pain in your soul, I'll still be there to carry you home and show you where time begins, where there's nothing left to lose, the world can start again. I just know what I've seen so far, but have faith in what's yet to come. The future the future might not be here yet, but that doesn't mean it's gone. Forever and always, I constantly remain your best friend.
So this first poem I wrote on January 8th, just this year, I call it a turning point. There comes a point when it's been enough, when you've walked away, although it's tough, when you've taken the hit time and again. There comes a point when you end the pain. When you felt the hurt too many times, there comes a point to change your rhymes. There comes a point to let go of the past, when you've made a choice that's meant to last. There comes a point when you let someone go, when you've had enough of taking the blows, when you know that their behavior must cease. There comes a point when you've chosen peace. Thank you. This next poem I wrote, just one moment. I wrote this on October 28th of 2024. Feels like it's more fitting with the current political climate that's going on. I call it, It Should Not Be Forgotten. Lest we forget are 3 words said to me, lest we forget who we want to be, lest we forget what happened before, lest we forget those things we abhor, lest we forget the ones dragged into the street, lest we forget the ones who were broken and beat, lest we forget the suffering it caused, lest we forget, or it'll come at a cost, lest we forget are 3 words to remind us all, lest we forget are 3 words spoken each fall, lest we forget that old anger and hate, lest we forget those who acted irate, lest we forget or we're doomed to repeat, lest we forget or will be dragged into the street, lest we forget or will be broken and beat, and yet we forgot, so now we repeat. And my last poem, I wrote it just over 2 years ago. My mother passed away on January 24th of 2024. Just one moment. So I wrote this in remembrance of her. I call it Mom, the month after. 'Twas a month after Christmas when Mom passed away. Her hell is over. There's not much to say. She suffered too long. She slowly decayed. Her mind was taken, a gradual fade. It went on for years, 2 decades in fact, a third of her life, a painful impact. 'Cause when we were young, she told us her fears. She watched her mother with similar tears. Mom was the youngest of all her siblings, but first to show signs, dementia's sting. She often told us, if I get that way, please pull out the plug, not wanting those days. But with this disease, there's no plug, you see. There's no laws to help. She couldn't be free. Her mind a prison, her thoughts locked away, her talents declined, her life to decay. Quality of life is important to see, far more important than longevity, and she knew this fact but couldn't escape. She was well cared for, a terrible fate. Spoonful by spoonful she was kept fed, mouthful by mouthful she laid in her bed. She couldn't sit up, she couldn't say words, she couldn't do much, a life lived 2/3. Her nightmare came true, her mind gone too soon. Her body lay there, kept fed in her room. Her pain is over, the suffering gone. She's no longer here, she has now passed on. And with the grieving, a sigh of relief, time has come for her and bit down its teeth. I will remember the times that were glad, your caring embrace, and the love that you had. I love you, Mother, I say as I cry. I know you're at peace. I love you. Goodbye. In memory of Gwen Bogart.
This one is called Memory. Sometimes I cry when I read it, so just hold the space for me for a second if I do. Like a sepia-stained vintage view through a one-way window you can never be the other side of, memory's curiosities alight. The olfaction flash vacation, from damp earth's musk to frigid lumpy mud squish-squashing between bare toes. When syncopation carries you back, to thoughtless, energetic gyrations, pubescent sweat and desire. A curtain swishing in the breeze, puffing life into crinoline and silk-clad wedding celebration, such brave, naive hope. Like marching across a field, suddenly ankle-deep in a gopher hole of the past. The next step aches. Like the 1,000 times cracked spine of a treasured fading book, just to recall the briefest whiff of Dad's long-gone embrace. Sometimes, like trying to match gathered pieces of lint to garment source, a bit fuzzy, a bit muddled, maybe not quite right. And I just have one more to share. It's called Witch Button. Yeah. This one's called Witch Button. Close me inside an elevator car, an edifice of hurry up and wait. Witch button, witch button. Younger me would have let curiosity spiral, precociously planting imagination's seed behind each potential push, extending anticipation's finger, frolicking frankly, nose deep in buttons, pistil and stamen, until blotted out by admonishment's drought. Do I make a diligent choice now? One button, the acquiescence of should, monument of nuclear expectations, a stenographer's set lot, silence and sting, patriarchal power for function's grasp, machines squeezed dry. Do I explore my own lonely invigoration, lick my fingers and let them dance their way down, buttons circled, pressed, plucked, strummed, magnetic, frenetic, religious compunction, reverberating unabashed self-interest, resuscitation's gasp? Do I dive with raw bravado, drink deeply on connections, carnal cornucopia, palm to panel, button after button after button, each one shamelessly virginal? Creative exploration and joyful exuberance found, honest yet ignominious. I'm not alone in the elevator car. Each button's expression rings loudly in the pregnant pause between us. Which button? Which button? Thank you.
Thank you, Jade. I have two poems for you tonight. One is my weeping pillow, my weeping willow poem that Kat responded to. The weeping willow. There was a weeping willow on the banks of the Danube below our house when I was a child. It was my favorite place to hide under the canopy of that old willow. The soft flowing branches embraced me and kept me warm, kept me calm when my world became unbearably chaotic. That tree lives in my memories as the largest tree with its wide canopy. At least, that's how it seemed like to me when I was a child. 2 years ago, I went to the river looking for my favorite weeping willow and was sad when I couldn't find it. Maybe it went to tree heaven. After walking around a little while, I saw a young weeping willow tucked in amongst the trees. And I felt relieved that even though my old favorite was gone, there is a new one growing there. I hoped that this young willow will grow into an old tree with a wide canopy to embrace and shelter the children when they need a refuge from the storms in their lives. And now, string of lights. For every lie you make, there will be 1,000 truths spoken by 1,000 people and thousands more. No matter how clever those lies are, the truth always outshines and outlasts them, because eventually people see them for what they are. For every attempt you make to divide people, they will unite and stand beside each other, holding hands in unity. You can only divide some people, and you can only do it for some time, because we humans are wired to connect. For every attempt you make at intimidating people, they will stand strong, tall, and brave. Your childish games may weaken them for a short time, but gives them strength on the long run, because what doesn't kill us makes us strong, and together we are even stronger. For every attempt you try to mess with the spirit of good people, you lose before you even begin, because purity cannot be tainted with anything impure. No amount of your darkness can dim the light, and yet the smallest light will brighten a dark place. And just watch what happens with the string of many, many lights.